All right. Hello, everybody. We are just getting started here. Thanks so much for joining us. We are joined today by Dr. Sula von der Plank, and I am Lauren Marino Perez here from the NAT. We'll get to learn a lot more about Sula today. There are a couple things I wanted to let you all know. Thanks so much for joining us. You are muted and you're not going to be able to see yourselves on the screen, but you can chat to us. You're not going to see each other's chats though. So chat to us, ask us questions. We'll get to your questions. We love questions. We'll also have some time at the end if we don't get some at the very beginning, so don't worry about it. Oscar G is saying, hello, Oscar, how are you? Now's a great time. Hello, Andrew, to share what school you're at or where you're visiting us from, what city. See Michael saying hello. Thank you all so much for joining us. We're so excited to have you all here. I see California. Hopefully we'll see people from all over today. Today we're going to be talking about Mexico and Baja California, Mexico. Maybe we have some participants there. Oh, I see Tijuana, Patty, and Solana Beach, Jordan. So yay, we're getting some folks from all over. Highland Ranch, San Diego. Hello. Thank you guys all so much for joining us. We're so happy to have you here. And I'm joined here by Dr. Sula van der Plank. She's my friend and also a co-worker at times, which is very fun. Very lucky to get to work with Dr. Sula, and she's going to tell us all about her work with some an amazing critter south of the border, where she is right now. You're in Loreto, right? In Baja California?
I am in Baja California, sir, about 3/4 of the way down on the Gulf side.
Wow, that is so cool. And we'll get to see some pretty pictures of Baja California too. Oh, and Emma's telling me we have a Facebook participant from Veracruz, which is super exciting too. I'm so happy to see. And somebody else from Los Cabos. Yay, we have people from both sides of the border. That's so exciting to see. So thank you everybody for joining us. We're also streaming on Facebook and we're recording this, just so you know. So if you want closed captions, you can join us on Facebook and you can have closed captions there if you need them. And then we will also be uploading a copy of this and having it translated as well into Spanish later, a couple months out, so we can share it with more people even later. So thank you all again for joining us. So happy to have you here. And just an FYI, we're not going to be able to see your faces, but we can see your messages. So please be sure to message us, ask questions. We'd love to hear from you. And then let's get started, Sula. I would love to learn a bit more. I've got some pictures of you here. This beautiful picture, but I'd love to learn more about who you are and what you do. As I shared, we work together at the museum sometimes, but you really work all over the place and you do a lot of work in Mexico, and we just love to know a little bit more about what you do and what you study.
Thanks, Lauren. Well, I'm from England originally. I've actually been working in Mexico and Baja California Peninsula in particular for almost 18 years now. My specialty is plants by training. Well, my background was in studying plants and botany and plant ecology. More recently, in the last handful of years, I've moved over more and more into looking at the animals that use these plants and habitats where we work. And so right now I'm the director of a Center for Environmental Studies down in Loreto. I live in Baja California, Sur, and I work to facilitate all sorts of different research projects. So now everything from marine biology, mammalogy, to birds, to insects, anything, geology, anything you want to study, come on down to Loreto.
Wow, that's a lot of different things to study, and that makes sense because you have your own trading card. You're a woman in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. So these are really, really cool trading cards artists made and people made with a project for STEM and women in STEM, so scientists, and you can order them. We'll share a link to where you can order these so you can have your own trading cards for women in STEM, which I think is super awesome because you're a superhero in that way. You're always like promoting women in STEM and doing some amazing work. I have some pictures here of you with some of your fellow scientists and coworkers in Mexico and some of the beautiful areas that you get to work with in Mexico, just to share with people what it looks like, where you are out and about.
That's where I am now. This is Loreto.
Okay, that is so beautiful. It's amazing.
Yeah. Baja's beautiful.
Yeah, and so before we go too much further, we're talking about a very special little critter today that we've invited you here to talk with us about. And I'm very specifically not sharing its name because we're going to ask you all to guess what sort of an animal it is, because it can be kind of tricky for people to know exactly what sort of an animal this is. We'll have a poll for you in a minute. We're going to show a couple videos so you can see how it moves, what it looks like. It is very fast. So keep an eye out. One of the videos is a little bit slowed down, but even with like putting it at half speed, it's still super fast. It hops real fast. So we're going to share those, and then we're going to ask you to guess and a poll of what sort of an animal it is. So let me share some of the videos. Here's this little guy. Oh my God. It is so cute. Just hanging out. And then let's show one of it hopping around. So just a warning, it is fast, but if you can watch how it hops and check out its really cool long tail coming off of it. And it's gonna hop, 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 hop away. I love its little hops. They're so cute. And so here you can kind of see how small it is, because that's an adult standing. It just hops right by. And then we have another video. This one's really fast. So if you can see it, I mean, that's amazing. It's kind of in the back there, hopping around. Whoa. And then we have one that's a little slowed down. There it goes. So now it's like slow motion. You can kind of see it hopping there. But it's hard to see. They're so fast that when you really slow it down, it gets kind of blurry. So we would love to know, we have a poll for you guys. What kind of animal do you think this is? And we have 3 options for you to guess from. Do you think it's a rat, a kangaroo, or a squirrel? So if you all can take the poll, and some of our classes out there, if you want to enter your answers into the chat, if you can't take the poll directly, I'm seeing some people say rat, some people say kangaroo, a couple squirrel guesses out there. It's kind of a tricky one, right? Because it's not an animal that we would really see every day. These are special little guys that are very adorable. Okay, another minute. Let's see. Do we see anybody in the chat guessing? Again, most people are thinking a rat. Some people are thinking kangaroo. A couple people thinking squirrel. All right, let's go ahead and end the poll, and we can share the results so we can see what everybody is thinking here. So most people think that it's a rat. Some people think that it's a kangaroo, and then some people think that it is a squirrel. Okay, so Sula, what sort of an animal is this?
So these are some good guesses because it's a kangaroo rat.
A kangaroo rat. What a cute name. Oh, one person said none of the above too. Looks like a jumping mouse. Yeah, so do you know why is it called a kangaroo rat?
Oh, it's called a kangaroo rat for that style of jumping because it jumps a little bit like a kangaroo with its big long back legs. And so you know how a kangaroo has small front legs and bounces on its back legs? It's called a kangaroo rat for that reason.
It's really, really cute. And here's a picture of you holding one. So I know people always want to know, like, how big is it? How much does it weigh? You know, is it heavy?
So for kangaroo rats in general, this species is really big and really heavy.
Okay.
And it can weigh over 200 grams. So they're really quite heavy, but you can see they're friendly. They're very tame, they're very friendly, they're often happy to sit in your hands or on your arm.
Oh,
They're really lovely animals to work with.
oh, so cool. And so the one on the left in this picture is the San Quintin Kangaroo Rat, the one that we're talking about. And then the one on the right is one that we would find in like San Diego, Southern California. So there's really a big difference in size there, pretty big and pretty small Okay.
And that's one of the biggest and sort of most obvious differences. And so the Dolzura kangaroo rat has a very big range. It's found all over the place. There's a lot in California, it's up and down the peninsula. It's got a much bigger range, but it's a much smaller animal. And so this bigger one, the San Quintin Kangaroo Rat, has a much more restricted area where it lives.
Okay. And we have a map here showing kind of where it's found in San Quintin, just this little area in Baja California, Mexico. So it's really founded not all over the place like you were sharing with the other kangaroo rat, the Dolzura.
I have the poll blocking the image and I can't
Oh,
see it.
oh, you might have to close the poll.
Can I close it myself?
Uh-huh.
Okay, sorry, I didn't realize that. Okay.
Oh no, that's
I got
okay.
you
Yeah.
now. Apologies. Okay,
No,
yeah. So
yeah.
that's the original whole-known range of this species, the San Quintin Kangaroo Rat.
So that's not, yeah, that's pretty small, right?
Tiny. Mm-hmm.
And because I've always kind of wondered, we hear a lot about, well, when I first heard about this, it was that it's an extinct kangaroo rat, an extinct rat, but actually it isn't. And I'm kind of wondering, like, how could something people thought was extinct actually not be? And it was rediscovered. And what does that mean? Kind of.
was such a wonderful thing to find the animal still alive, because it had been believed to be extinct for over 30 years. And so
Wow.
San Quintin was the place that I had spent a lot of time. I did my master's thesis work in San Quintin, and I spent 5 years visiting San Quintin every month, and
Wow.
multiple day trips. And so I'd spent a lot of time in the region, and it had really piqued my interest that we had lost species. It was wonderful that we hadn't lost it. And it's
Yeah. So it ended up actually being there kind of this whole time. Is
yes,
that
but
what?
in very small numbers. Yeah.
Okay. So it used to be found in a lot of areas and now, or in a bigger area and a lot of them, and now not so much. And I'm kind of wondering what happened, what changed, why did it get less numbers and people thought it was gone?
So San Quintin has this beautiful low flat valley. It's absolutely perfect for agriculture. And so San Quintin became, from about the 1950s onwards, became a really important agricultural valley and started to grow and grow and grow and grow until all of that flat open land was really being cultivated. And so what do we do when we prepare the land to sow seeds and vegetables and plants? We till it. And so we destroyed their homes. We basically destroyed their homes and pushed them to very small numbers.
Okay, so they lost places where they could live, basically. Yeah, because they live.
Yeah.
And when I was learning about them and you were telling me about them, that they live in burrows, and they make these kind of cool tracks along burrows that they run along, right? And
And I
here's
love
some
this picture because you can actually see a tail mark here in the foreground. There's like a long, you can see a long drag, long drag mark from a tail along with all the little footprints. Yeah, they do. They live underground in these burrows, and the burrows have multiple entrances, so that if somebody unexpected comes in one entrance, you can escape out of another. And so they have multiple entrances.
That's so cool. They can pop all around. And in this picture, we have a picture of a burrow, and we're wondering if people can kind of, if they can see where the hole is for the burrow, if they can tell, because it's kind of, I think, hard to find. It just looks like a lot of dirt. I don't know if people could share in the chat where they think they see a burrow entrance, if they think they see one at all, because it's pretty hidden to me. So we'd love to know if people see a burrow or they think they see a burrow. Not seeing anything in the chat. Anybody guesses? Like towards the middle, towards the back, in the sand, in the bushes. If you can describe where you think you might be seeing a burrow, let us know. Where is the hole? The slightly bottom right. Exactly. So where is the hole? What does it look like? Can you find a hole? See some guesses coming in. Let's see. Let's wait another couple minutes, see if anybody has another guess. A little hole. left of the middle. Some people were thinking this area, which I think might be right. Let's see, we've got our next slide. Yeah, exactly. So just left of the middle there is a little burrow entrance. And you're saying that the same kangaroo rat would have multiple little holes around this area?
Yeah, and so one of the interesting things about this kangaroo rat in particular is it sometimes shares its burrow with other small mammals. So other different kinds of like pocket mice or little mice that can be living in there with the kangaroo rats. And so sometimes you'll see some small burrows and some big entrances going into the same burrow. But when the kangaroo rat's so big, it needs a big hole. So what you're seeing here is the big main entrance for the kangaroo rat.
Okay, so it's a big hole. Here we have another picture that's kind of like a big, seems kind of like a big hole.
Great
And then
footprints, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
because there's little footprints hopping in and out. That's so cool. So it's kind of like an apartment for like small little rodents. They're like all in there sharing space with each other.
So one of the techniques that we would use to try and learn more about the animals is to put traps at all the different entrances of a burrow. And so often we would find deer mice and like other species of mice coming out of the same burrow. So it appears that they do often live together down below, though they might be in different parts underground. So some might be higher than others. They might not actually be cuddled up together.
Okay.
Down there,
yeah.
sharing a burrow system.
Wow. That's so nice of them to share with each other. And here's a picture showing kind of more footprints, and to me, not being like the untrained eye, I wouldn't have realized that these are actually tracks that if you were to follow them could lead you to some of these burrows. It just looks like, maybe the wind messed up the sand or something. But are these things that you look for as a scientist when you're out and about to find animals?
Yeah, and so one of the giveaways here, if you see a really big footprint, that's a clue that there's a big kangaroo rat inside. And so we would look for big footprints. We would also look for those big wide tail drags. So you've got some tail drag.
So like that
here.
kind of okay.
The San Quintin Kangaroo Rat has a very wide tail too. So we can look for size features in the footprints. And the other thing we look for is just sort of a beaten path, because they tend to go out and forage along the same initial path every night.
Okay.
Oh, perfect. So, you have a picture of that here.
You do. Yeah. So they follow like these pathways in between the burrow holes while they're looking for food? Or
sometimes they connect burrows, and sometimes they're just to go out and forage, and so they'll leave the burrow and the home and go out to find food, and they'll follow that same initial trail, and part of that is to scent mark and to have a quick way back if you ever need to escape a predator. So if you get frightened and need to run home, you've got a really clear, well-marked trail and you can get back quickly.
Okay, that makes sense. There's some more kind of trails and tracks on these paths, which again, I don't know if I would have realized was a path until you pointed it out. And now that you say that, I can really see it and see that they're traveling on these paths around. And this picture here kind of shows, is this kind of what the habitat would look like before agriculture was in the area, before people changed what it looked like?
I love this picture because it's one of the few examples of burrows still in native habitat. These are all still native plants. And in this example, the soil is salty, you're close to the coast. And this is almost sort of a salt marsh vegetation. So there's a salty influence in the soil. So this wouldn't be used for agriculture because the soil is too salty. So this hasn't been bulldozed for agriculture. And so it's really nice to see a burrow in native vegetation, but actually it's very rare now to find the San Quintin Kangaroo Rat in native vegetation. We mostly find them in abandoned agricultural fields.
Okay, so I have a picture here of what the area looks like once it's been kind of changed for agriculture. People come in and take out all those plants that were there, those native plants you're talking about, and they just bulldoze it kind of basically, or?
Yeah, so this is a great example of what the fields look like today and what's happened with the agriculture. And you can see there's you know, almost no native vegetation left. It's just a landscape of cultivated fields. Usually that involves an initial plow that digs up the burrows, which is a big part of that initial habitat destruction. And then if there's sowed with seeds every year and replowed, it's very difficult for the kangaroo rats to reestablish. But what kangaroo rats really need in terms of habitat, at least the San Quintin Kangaroo Rat, space to jump. You know, need to be able to jump freely, like you saw in those videos. And so any open habitat with low cover where they can move around is suitable. But when these fields are abandoned, they become very suitable habitat. And one of the important things that happened in San Quintin is that all that agriculture drew so much water out of the water table, a lot of the soil went salty and a lot of fields were abandoned. And when those fields were abandoned, the San Quintin Kangaroo Rat was able to take over that habitat again, recolonize those areas.
Oh, so they came back to where they had been.
That's how we found that. That's how we came to rediscover them, and that's how their populations are increasing, has been through agricultural abandonment, because there's salt in the water.
Oh, wow. So it's kind of like when people, we have this picture of what it looked like before people and then after people, but then people left again and the animals came back. And
the fear is that people will get desalination plants and come back. And then they will go again. And so now we have to. And
then the kangaroo rat goes again. Yeah. That's not good. And I'm interested for our audience too, to take a look kind of at what Sula was sharing with us and looking at these two different pictures here and what differences they're seeing in them. In terms of the plants and what's there. I know they're kind of different views, but one of them, can people tell me what they're seeing? Are they seeing one that has more plants, one that has less plants? Is there one that's kind of bumpy or one that's more flat? What are they seeing? But it's really interesting to see, to know that they need that area to jump, that they have to hop to get to where they're going. And if they don't have that, then they can't be there.
Right, so we would, for example, never find them under trees or under large shrubs or in dense sort of chaparral or anything like that. Okay,
so they need a lot of space for their big hops, which is adorable to know.
So that lovely flat open valley originally was perfect habitat for them.
Perfect for them. And then also when they, I was wondering, when farmers like water their fields and stuff, would that also like fill up the burrows, or are the burrows just gone once it's been plowed? They're just gone.
Yeah, that's a good question. So theoretically the kangaroo rats could move back in quite quickly after you had sowed a crop, but like you say, water can often flood the burrows and they can drown. So there's lots of things about modern agriculture that habitat unsuitable when it's being actively used.
And we talked a bit about, and I see somebody sharing that there's one picture, one area that's a lot more open than the other one, and definitely a lot more open, not as much cover. That one, there's like that one big area that's just totally like sand, like a big sand pit or something. Is that part of the agriculture too?
I am not 100% sure what the destined use for that was, and it looks a lot like some of the shrimp farm things, or it may have just been a water storage area, like to transport water for cattle or for the agriculture itself. It's some kind of pond. Okay. It doesn't yet have water in it. I don't know exactly what the use would have been, but it's part of the agriculture. Yeah.
We have some really we have a really neat video here of a kangaroo rat avoiding something trying to eat it. So a lot of it you were sharing, when they go in between their burrows and they're running and they run back to their burrows for shelter, it's because a lot of things want to eat them, right? They're little, I mean, they're big for what they are, but they have a lot of predators, a lot of animals that want to eat them.
Yeah, different things. So a lot of times it's birds, but other, that like if they were to like watch out for owls or things like that might swoop down, but they definitely have other pieces too, as you might see. Yeah. But you can see why they need that open space. I think why they need to be able to jump.
So we have this cool video we want to share, and it's going to be of a kangaroo rat encountering a rattlesnake. And it's going to go a couple of different angles. It's going to show you, and one's kind of fast and then the other one's slow, so you can really see the action here. So let's play that. We have the first clip that is in real time. And if you can even see the rattlesnake. Whoa! So it jumps right at it and it jumps away. And then there's going to be a second part of it.
I love this video so much.
Yeah, it's so cool to see. It's right next to the rattlesnake.
It hasn't seen him.
Whoa! And then it just gives it a kick.
It's
Yeah,
fantastic.
I love that kick. It's so cool to know that they could do that. And that rattlesnake really got whacked. It's really rolling around there. Woo. And that's Ninja Rat. And we have a we'll share a link to more of those videos, because there's some people out of a couple labs, one of them being right here in San Diego, SDSU, and they make these amazing videos and of the rattlesnakes and their prey, which a lot of times is the kangaroo rats, and how they respond, which I think is so cool. I don't know if people knew that they did that before it was caught on camera, and that they could actually kick a rattlesnake or respond that quickly.
I don't think that previous to this research, I don't think that people knew that the kicking was part of the response. I think we thought they jumped and ran away and it was an escape response. But to see the kick is fantastic.
Yeah.
You
It's
really
a
see
really,
those kangaroo feet kind of
yeah.
come out. And,
Yeah, it's nice to see them using them for more than just hopping. And then here we have a cool picture of some of your associates that you worked with in Mexico, right? When you rediscovered the kangaroo rat?
Yeah, so these are our collaborators in Mexico, and on the left is Enrique Alfaro, and he was at the time one of the rangers for the conservation organization Terra Peninsular, which has nature reserve San Quintin. They're working on the nature reserves and working hand in hand with Enrique. And on the right is Jorge Andrade, who was also working for Terra Peninsular at the time, but has now gone on to do his doctoral work on the San Quintin Kangaroo Rat. And I would say he is now becoming world expert on the San Quintin Kangaroo Rat. So
wow, that's amazing. And he's part of like the original Rediscovery team.
Yeah, part of the original team, and you can see here how friendly the kangaroo rats can be in the field. You know, when you hear, oh, it's a rat, then you think maybe it's going to bite you or maybe it's going to be aggressive. Not at all. They're really very cute and cuddly.
Yeah, they're super docile. And here we have pictures of you mentioned how you guys went about finding them. So you would kind of find these burrows and then set up traps and like camera. I see a camera trap too.
Yeah, so this experiment in particular, what we were trying to do was put different food options
Okay.
in front of the traps and see if they were more interested in fresh green alfalfa or in hay or in oats. And so you can see there's 3 different little food types in front of the traps, and we've got the game camera on there, and we're trying to understand, you know, would multiple animals come, and is it one preferentially? And we you know, it was very hard to determine. It just seemed like different individuals had different, just like us, like different animals like to eat different things. Yeah, you really get the idea here. So the traps are set up near the burrow entrances and along those trails. We know they're going to come out of the burrow and go along a trail, so we can put traps on the trails and make sure that they come out that way, and it's highly likely that they'll walk into them, and they're baited with food.
Okay, so you're kind of attracting them to it. And then we have a neat picture here of one. What is he doing?
I love this picture because we're so excited. You know, this is the first animal that we ever caught that weighed more than 200 grams. Oh, sorry, 100 grams, more than 100 grams. Forgive me, my memory. And so the weigh scale that we have only went up to 100 grams. When the animal weighed more than 100 grams and the scale went boom, we knew it was more than 101 grams. That meant that it was unquestionably the San Quintin Kangaroo Rat and not another species. And so it was just a very exciting moment when we were like, oh, that's more than 100 grams. Like, it's a really big kangaroo rat. So I love the expression on Enrique's face, and you can see he's looking at the scale, and we're just so excited. And for a while there, we used to call ourselves Team 101 Plus because we were looking for things that were over 101 grams.
So that was the deciding factor of how you knew it was just specifically, or one of the main.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't say it was the deciding factor because we took a lot of measurements and you have to be very careful. There's a lot involved. And we would measure the length of the feet. We would measure the length of the tail. We would measure the body. We would measure the ears. There's a lot of measurements involved to make that decision. But this was a very quick and easy early metric that it was highly likely we had the right species because they were so big.
Okay. And so that thing he's holding is a scale.
It's a scale.
And then you have a very high-tech Ziploc bag, I see.
Very high-tech Ziploc. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. This research doesn't require high-end technology, you know, just to be being out there inventorying these things and getting a sense of what small mammals are out there. There's still some pretty basic techniques sometimes, but now of course, you can go further and do genetic studies and other work, which is exactly what Jorge Andrade is now doing.
Okay, is learning more. That was something that was interesting to me when you're telling me about it, and I was reading about it a little bit and learning that because it's kind of like, what do they eat? What, you know, why are they so important? Why does one type of kangaroo rat matter so much to have? And it was kind of like, well, we're still learning a lot about them, it sounds like.
That's the thing, there's so much we don't know about the species, you know, and other species, especially in the US, have been studied so carefully by so many people for so long. We know a lot about diet and their behavior and their ecology and their preferences and their lifespan. But for example, we don't know how long they live. We don't know, you know, exactly when they're breeding or, you know, what their sort of patterns are throughout the year. So there's a lot more to learn.
Still a lot to learn about them. That's so
we didn't learn
cool
anything for 30 years. You know, for 30 years we thought that they were gone.
That they were gone. Yeah. And then it's too that they've been rediscovered, and it's up to us to help them not disappear again. So we're kind of wondering, like, what can we do to help science and help different species and help scientists? Like, what can any of us do?
So in this very specific case, locally, obviously, the really important thing is that there are reserves and protected areas where the kangaroo rat can continue to survive. So that if there is a reboom in agriculture, which is what we're expecting, you know, the technology for taking the salt out of the water, desalinizing the water, to sort of revive agriculture in the region is really coming along quickly. So supporting organizations like Terra Peninsula and other land conservation organizations and conservation organizations in Mexico is a really important way. Also, just being part of our efforts to document species. So anybody can take part in helping us learn about the species around us. Yeah, we need your help. we need everyone. You know, it's a lot of species to conserve and a lot to learn about the biodiversity around us. And so you can help us by taking pictures of the things around you. Imagine if we'd had more people looking for the San Quintin Kangaroo Rat and taking pictures of prints and trails and signs. Don't forget, for animals, you can include pictures of scat or pictures of footprints or other evidence. You don't have to see the animal in person. So even though it's an animal that's maybe very timid and only comes out at night, remember, we're seeing evidence of it around its burrows and its trails. And you can help us document the world around us wherever you are.
That's so cool.
I was gonna say, I don't know if you want to mention like platforms where we can do that.
Yeah, I was gonna say something we use at the museum a lot is iNaturalist, and it's an app and it's also a website where you can upload photos that you find of, like you were saying, scat, which is a scientific way of saying poo. It's a nice way of making it say, the P word. Um, or any sort of evidence of animals, even and plants as well, and you share them on there. And Miss Haley, I see, dropped into the chat how to do that, the website, and then scientists use them in their work. And a lot of scientists at the museum use them as well, which, yeah, if you put a plant up there, Dr. Redmond is going to identify it for you. You will see him on there telling you what you're seeing, and he'll put it in his work too, which is really cool.
Yeah, and I would say don't doubt how useful it is to us. Like we as scientists really use that data all the time. All the time.
I was just reading about like a bird that was just rediscovered, like after a couple hundred years in Papua New Guinea, or 130 years or something. They thought it was
Wow.
extinct and they just rediscovered it recently. So, and
It's
that
so
was with the help of
fantastic.
people, saying, oh, look over here, I think it's over there.
It's so fantastic. Yeah, they're stories of hope,
Yeah, definitely. And then we have time for your questions. So if anybody has questions about Sula, her work in Mexico, her work in general, the kangaroo rat, anything like that, please drop it in the chat and let us know. You can put messages in there for us to answer. We would love to hear from you. You can also visit the museum, visit our new exhibit that's all about Baja, California, and the San Quintin Kangaroo Rat is in there. See somebody say, I have no questions. Oh, do clouded leopards inhabit Mexico? Do clouded leopards, and I don't know if that's.
I don't know. I'm really sorry. We're talking about the whole country. I really only know the Baja California Peninsula, and they're not on the peninsula, but I couldn't tell you.
And that is also, I think, a really good thing to know, because a lot of people think, oh, you're a scientist, you know everything, right?
Oh,
But
no.
there's so much. Yeah, there's so much. And then somebody else says, how would you rate your experience in Mexico from 1 to 10?
20. I love Mexico. It's such a wonderful place to work, and I have the most wonderful collaborators and colleagues, and it's such a wonderful place too, because it has still so much open space and so many fantastic native species, and I feel very, very lucky to live and work in Mexico.
Oh, and somebody says, why does it have such a long tail? So do you know why the kangaroo rat has such a long tail?
That's a great question. So we think it's in large part to do with balance while they're jumping. So it's like as a counterbalance. And if you think about when you're doing those leaps, and they can use that tail sort of counterbalance and angle. So the bigger the body and the bigger the leap, the longer the tail. So that's why it becomes so sort of proportional, so that they can use that.
That's very cool. And kangaroos, like, they use their tails like that too, right? As kind of like a balance, I think.
I believe so. Although again, they're not in Baja California, so I don't know.
And then Angelica says, what is the kangaroo rat's top predator? Do you know?
Well, so it would be a toss-up between snakes and birds. So there's definitely concern for overhead predation, and that's one of the reasons that I think they run so quickly back to the birds and have the pods, like if you're being swooped upon from above. Whereas I think wanting to not have vegetation above to be able to jump out of the way is more for the snake. But yeah, I don't think we know enough to know whether snakes or sort of owls and are having a bigger impact.
And you said owls because they come out at night, right? The kangaroo rats are mainly out during the nighttime and sleeping at the daytime. They're nocturnal. Nocturnal. Okay, so they would be owls would be getting them. And like that video we saw with the rattlesnake, they're out at night too, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're all nocturnal. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know the ratio between predation from birds versus snakes, but they would be the two main predator groups.
Yeah. And then also somebody wants to know, how deep is the burrow? Do we
That's a
know?
great question. So one of the things we talked about doing was trying to like pour something into the burrow to assess how deep they are. But obviously it's still an endangered species. It's only just recovering from extinction. And so the last thing we want to do is dig up one of their burrows to see
Yeah.
how deep it is. So we don't have precise data on that. But from our understanding of kangaroo rats in general, they can be quite deep.
Like a couple feet or a couple
Yeah, I
inches?
think at least a couple of feet. Yeah.
Wow, that's very cool. And do you know also just how far that these kangaroo rats can jump in a single jump? I mean, we kind of saw some video of it, but I wasn't sure if there's like if we're still learning or.
Definitely still learning, but I think, also you kind of saw there's the average jump when you're hopping around, and then there's the, whether you're jumping up or you're jumping out, and what the maximum would be, I really don't know. But I would say like an average hop, maybe 3 feet on a good,
Wow, that's
sort of a good hop versus
pretty big for such a little animal.
yeah, they're big hop.
Yeah, big feet. Oh, okay. How many babies do they have, and do they mate in a specific season?
So these are great questions, and I hope that some of you decide to study kangaroo rats and take some of these on, because again, we didn't learn anything about this species for decades because we thought it was extinct. We've only just rediscovered it, and Jorge is one of the first researchers to be really continuing to study the ecology. A lot we just don't know. And at this time, we're looking more at the genetics. We have a lot of concerns about whether there's enough genetic diversity in the species, since it went down to so few individuals and it was so close to extinction. We worry a lot about its genetics. We're trying to understand more about its habitat, how to find it. Have we found all of them, or do they have a bigger range than we thought? So there's so many questions. I don't think we've gotten to any of the questions yet about sort of breeding and numbers, and all of that is left to be learned.
That's so exciting to know. There's still a lot of work we can do, and we need you all to grow up and be scientists and help us learn more. There's all sorts of different animals and plants out there we still don't know enough about.
Yeah, we need
We need to know more. And that is like, we're just about at our time. I want to say thank you so much to Sula for being here. It was so lovely to have you, and thanks to everybody that joined us. We have another Baja story January 20th at 10 a.m. So if you can join us, please do. We would love for you to join us or to come visit the museum. And just huge thanks to Sula. It was so lovely to get to talk to you and share a little bit of what you've done. And we're getting some smiles in the chat, and big thank you for teaching us, and appreciate you all. So that's lovely. And we appreciate you guys for joining us, and your amazing questions were really, really fun to answer and get to know a little bit more about this adorable critter with Dr. Sula. So thank you, Sula. Thank you so much for being here. It was so lovely to have you and get to talk to you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. It was a real honor for me. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. So have a good weekend, everybody. And if you get a holiday, a lovely holiday. And we hope to see you in future programs. So thanks. Bye, everybody. Bye.